Yo, what's happening, business nerds? Happy Wednesday night. Chris Jones is in the house. I gotta find us out here on the interwebs. And then I gotta make this thing public. So y'all can share it to your favorite feeds, baby. Let me do that. There it is. It found me. Like, subscribe, smash the heart thing. You guys know what to do. There it is. Now we're officially public. Everybody, this is out there for the rest of time, to the detriment of Facebook and all social media ever. How you doing, Chris Jones?
I'm good, man. How you been?
I think this is last time I had you on. It was the old bookkeeping beer and BS podcast. This is the new one. This is the new digs. This is home service happy hour. We're not restricted to just talking about bookkeeping anymore, because that was all we did the last time, probably.
Yeah, no, and I like that. I mean, we can cover a wide variety of topics, and plus, bookkeeping's not exactly my specialty.
No. Boring. Bookkeeping's lame.
Hey, you make it cool though.
It's as hard as as hard as I can. That's all. That's my life's goal, is to make bookkeeping. I mean, it is our tagline: making bookkeeping not suck. It's hard work. I do think it's funny. Last time on the show, you were drinking an old fashioned and I was drinking Busch Lights, and now you got Busch Lights, and I was like, Chris is coming on. I better scrounge up an old fashioned. So we just did the old role reversal here.
I'm out of my old fashioned cherries, and so it's one the same.
I didn't. I do. That is like the one thing that's missing in here. I got no cherry juice. I had no cherries. I had no cherry juice. I got nothing. I just found like some of my kids' oranges in the fridge and just smashed it. Just muddled a couple down in here with some vanilla Crown. I was going for the dreamsicle cocktail. I got some oranges with some vanilla Crown, and I just threw some bitters in it because it's not an old fashioned without some bitters in it. So
nice.
It is. I think that's one of my favorite things about old fashions. It's kind of like it's some whiskey or some brandy with some fruit maybe, and some sort of sugar with some bitters, and call it an old fashioned.
Amen.
Whatever you want it to be. Hell yeah. Well, cheers. Happy Wednesday night.
Man.
We got a lot of catching up to do. This is my third of 4 podcasts this week. It's a busy ass week for me. I'm surprised I can still talk anymore. I was a guest on my buddy Ryan Lee's show yesterday. Wednesdays, I got my radio show, and then we do this show where we're here hanging out right now. And tomorrow, all of this fancy background. I mean, the bar behind me, the bar's super real. It's back here. It's somewhere back here. All this stuff is going to change because we got a sponsor coming on. We got our first sponsor coming on tomorrow. And so I'm doing a launch kind of sponsor release episode tomorrow with them, hanging out, talking smack, probably talk a little bit of business. So you are officially the last guest before, and the name of the show is not going to change. Right now, it's just presented by me and my business because I'm here, I'm in my show. But now it's officially going to be, presented by them, brought to you by them. I'll still be here.
Can you say who they are?
I'm kind of saving it. Okay. The suspense is a killer. Yeah. I will say, I've mentioned a couple times on the show before. I had multiple potential sponsorship opportunities, and I just don't I don't want to support something to get paid for it and not it be something that I'm super passionate about. So I turned down one company that I just don't use, and I am exposed to them repeatedly, but it's just not my jam. And I turned down a marketing company that wanted to sponsor, and not that they were good or bad, but I've never used them before. And so I just can't have a hard time being like, yeah, you guys all got to use this thing, when I'm like, they're probably really good. Maybe,
right.
I don't know.
And so that's huge.
Yeah. The sponsor is somebody that we've used in our business a whole bunch. Does an awesome job. Just the right type of people to bring into the fam. So I'm super pumped about that. Have a little sponsor action going.
Well, congrats. That's the growth, man. That's awesome.
Now the next one. So I'm very particular about that type of sponsor. If it's going to be somebody, some company that people in the industry are using, got to be super particular about it. One that I would not be at all particular about is a beer sponsor. I'll take them. I'll take any of them. As long as they like make beer and send me a couple of them,
right?
it's up for grabs. Anybody out there? If you make a few beers, you send them to me. You officially are the official beer sponsor of the Home Service Happy Hour. That's all it takes. That's all it takes to be the official beer sponsor.
Hey, good plug.
Low bar. It's a low bar.
Bar.
What do you got on your hat there, Chris Jones?
It's just a little golfing hat I got out in Vegas at for a bachelor party last year.
It looks like a cooler you got to know somebody type of Masters hat. Like, because it's got that color scheme and it just has that vibe of like, you can't get this hat unless you know somebody.
No, it was more like shoot probably like 105 and just not sober, and it was like, oh, that's cool on the way out of a probably $500 round in Vegas. So
that's cool too, though. Yeah, it's like a consolation prize. I got my ass kicked. I'm sweating my balls off. Give me this hat.
Yep, that's exactly it. Yeah,
earned that hat. I was just we're wearing it's a sports themed episode. I got my Sam Congato Packer jersey on. I was at a fantasy football draft. I live in Minnesota, but I'm from Wisconsin, and so got to represent the cheeseheads. So fantasy football draft, I felt very appropriately attired, just wearing every Packer thing I had in my closet, just giving them the business. And
I was talking to my buddy the other day, man. They're all starting their drafts. I don't know, like, sometimes I'll be into it, sometimes I'm not. He told me he's a part of 8 fantasy football leagues.
That's too much. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a good, this is the threshold. I think I've got 3. Joe Devanel says he's got his Jefferson jersey on. Now's as good a time to wear it, Joe, because as the season goes on, it's going to be more embarrassing to support the Vikings. So now is probably the right time to go hard on the Vikes before they start losing games and stuff. But yeah, I 3. I think 3 is the max. I think 3 is probably the max. At anything over that, I don't know who you're cheering for anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. He's tied up for weeks, to be like, hey, what do you got going on or whatever. It's like, I got 2 or 3 drafts. I'm like, a day.
It's an obligation.
So right.
Now here's the problem. I don't know that I spend enough time on the toilet to handle that many fantasy football teams. Because that's about, you get 10 minutes a day to check your roster, and it's usually when you're sitting on the toilet taking care of business. That's when you catch up on fantasy football stuff.
I had so many questions. I'm like, but shit, I don't even have enough time to go through it. So
it becomes a damn obligation. 8 leagues. Oh, you froze up on me. I think you froze up on me. Well, hell. Well, Chris is frozen up here. Joe said, I do it in the tree stand. Easy. Joe, I'm with you. Normally I'm all about jumping on there from the tree stand, but it's so dependent on the hunting spot. Sometimes I'm down low. Where we hunt in Wisconsin, we have some acreage over there, and there's just no cell reception. It's just like central Wisconsin. I don't know why there won't be any cell reception there, but there's no cell reception there. And so every once in a while I get a bar, maybe. But that's it. And so it's not enough juice usually. Since I've got Wi-Fi in mine. In the tree stand, you've got the booster on the back just in case. It's a good idea. Or Joe, are you in the lodge? You're in the hunting lodge with the window cracked. Is that what you're saying? You just throw a little corn pile outside there and wait for him to show up. Whatever works for you, that works. Subdivision deer. Man, what is we wait for Chris to get back on. We'll see if Chris can scrounge up some Wi-Fi's. He was struggling early on when he got on. It wasn't working good, and then it started working good. So we thought we were good, but then he obviously dropped off, stopped working good. Here's it's not a subdivision, but similar to hunting subdivision deer. When I grew up, we had access to a spot we called the barn, and it was outside of Wausau, Wisconsin. I think you could still gun hunt there, but it was right on the outskirts of the industrial park. now they probably made it bow only because it's just right outside of city limits, but it was always just flooded with deer. There's a lot of agriculture around there. And there was an old barn that was like no longer in use, but you could sneak in from the back of the barn. And in Wisconsin, you used to be able to bait with corn or whatever. And so growing up, I called it grocery shopping for deer. We'd put bait out 20 yards away from the barn. You go up inside the barn and you'd sit there. It still always blew my mind how many times you would get busted. Like you're sitting inside of a barn, just wooden slats. But a little breeze would blow out there. And if deer came up from behind it or wherever they came from, you would still get busted. You still like had to play the wind sitting in the barn. Here he come. But we used to, Chris, I was just telling people, Joe said he used to shoot subdivision deer, or he's still shooting subdivision deer. I used to hunt out of a barn, and there was just like a hole in one of the boards that was the right size. And so you'd sit back in there, pull her back, and pow, pop a deer from the corn pile when you needed a good one. Fill the freezer up. That was the way to do it.
You know, I'm regretfully, I could say, you know, I'm just a city boy, I guess, down here in Omaha.
Just a Nebraska city boy. It's almost an oxymoron. It's almost an oxymoron.
Yeah, it's James and I down here, man. You know, we're just city folk.
Representing the Nebraska city folk. You guys are the 0.01% of Nebraskans that would call yourself city folk. Hey, it's good to stand out. It's good to be different. It's good to stand out. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm in Minneapolis, and I'm just going full redneck, full Packer fan redneck in the cities, just to mix it up, keep people on their toes, you know. Did you get the internet figured out? You're looking crisp and clean now.
Maybe, I don't know. I told my wife, I was like, log out of everything.
close all your browser windows. Shut the Wi-Fi off on your cell phone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we were supposed to have a technician come out after the storm, and they canceled at 5:00, and then they canceled at 6:50 last night.
That's
and just like no reason, you know. And they're like, "Hey, we'll reschedule for Thursday." I was like, "Well, what about tomorrow?" They're like, "We're booked." I'm like, "Yeah, you were booked twice today."
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I bet you're booked. What? Yeah. How about you be booked with mine? That would be a thing to be booked with. I'd like you to be booked. I could be.
Yeah, they said, I was like, "So what happened?" They go, "I don't know." I was like,
Wait, aren't you guys a technology company that's supposed to like know what the hell's going on? Isn't that what we pay you guys for?
You would think, and I'm just like, all right, that's frustrating. That's just like the story of my life in like staffing. Like employment in general, you know. It's probably more so, guys, some of the shit you guys deal with, but like, I don't know, those things just frustrate me. Like, have an excuse of something, you know. I don't care what it is, honestly. Like flat tire, you know.
Be ready.
Whatever.
Be ready with something. Be ready with you should have something. Yeah, give me a good story. At least like make it all up and just give me like 10 minutes of a really good story. You know, just give me something. Give me entertainment. We had a storm roll through the other night, and maybe there's one time in my life that I can think back to where lightning struck so close. I mean, it was one of those where like the whole sky lit up and instantaneous, like house shake. And I just got a new pickup truck, and I was like, just got it, like just drove it home. It was in the driveway for a couple hours, and I'm just like, wonder what the chances are that baby just got zapped, or like the tree next to it got zapped and there's a branch laying on top of it. Like this could be an interesting one. It didn't.
Wild.
That's not what happened. We walked outside. It was cool. That storm like blew over, and there's still the aftermath of it, but it was right at dusk. And so as the sun's going down and you have the clouds still around, it looks like the sky's on fire. The whole sky is just that like blaze orange. So I noticed it through the window. So I took the kids outside. We're standing out there, like looking at this super cool orange sky. Just whatever the clouds were doing and whatever the sun was doing, just created this sweet, just brilliant orange sky. And we're standing on the front step, and I'm like, something's on fire. Like, no doubt about it. Something nearby is smoking. And it had to be from that lightning strike. That's the only reasonable explanation. I never did. You could hear sirens in the distance, so it's like assuming they're related. smoke smell, huge lightning strike, smoke smell, maybe 30 minutes later, sirens coming. And I went back out. I don't know. I was like throwing a poopy diaper away or something, real important stuff. Went back outside, and down the street, maybe 150 yards, there's like 6 squad cars and a couple fire trucks and all sorts of shit going on. I was like, well, that had to be there. Like, there's no coincidence anymore. Like, that's what's going on. Their power box or whatever, those little like faded green boxes that are that you don't really know what's going on in there, but they're kind of on different street corners. That thing was the thing that got struck. So it was like 150 yards away, and it just toasted their house. It didn't burn their house down, but that was what the smoke smell was. And I don't know how many houses down there lost electricity, but I assume their Wi-Fi was pretty screwed after that too.
So not only you dodged a bullet there, and everybody else houses are screwed, but you're just good and just showing the family all the
yeah, I'm like, check out this sucks to be those guys. Could have been us.
Hey, good karma, man. You're doing something right then.
I don't know. Lightning is definitely one of those things where I'm just like, it's so brilliant and epic, and I just don't want to fuck with it. No. I don't want anything to do with it. I want to watch it from a distance and not ever be. That's as close as I want to get. 150 yards. That was close enough.
You got to think about it, man. You did something shitty to be like that one in like a trillion person who got struck by lightning. Let alone there's those people who gotten struck like twice.
Yeah, they got to have some. So I don't know if that's a bad vibe or you just got like a high mineral content in your bloodstream or something like that. Something going on.
Yeah, man. But shitty day.
Hey, everybody lived. The storm passed. My garden was thankful. I got a garden that thing was booming after all that nitrogen in the air and a lot of rain. It had been hot and dry for a while. We needed a good little cold front like that. So there were some positives. My truck didn't get a branch dropped on it. No hail. I was just like, man, like this is just picture perfect for what happens after you get a new truck is you get a big storm and you get some hail damage like immediately. That's like that's how that story's written, but I didn't get that story. Never happened.
Hey, good for you, man. Yeah.
What let's do Chris, we gotta do a little intro action for those that don't know Chris Jones. And like I said, you've been on the show before, but it was the last show. It wasn't the home service happy hour. So give us a little catch up. I'm gonna just like lay the groundwork for you. Go back to pre Loophire. What were you doing pre Loophire? How did you get going in Loophire? Last time you were on, you had just brought on James as a partner, and you were like really starting to take off. So we'll get into that, but take us back in time a little bit to kind of that impetus where you got her all started.
Yeah. So I kind of fell into the recruiting, HR, staffing space after being in the bar business for about 10 years. So I was a nightclub casino host in Vegas for about 3 years, and then I came back to Omaha, opened up a little kind of like ultra lounge, little nightclub, that I ran for a minute, and then I decided I was like, starting to be like that old creepy guy there too late, and and it was it was time to maybe just get a day job, and I landed in recruiting because I was like, you know what, I got a pretty good network. It was like, I got a lot of people I could reach out to for this. And I was just like referred to it, kind of looking for that day gig. And, I get into, I start with Express Employment, and they're one of the largest, labor staffing, administrative staffing franchises like in the country, maybe even the world now. And I get in there and start, running accounts, like recruiting and whatever. Then I realized I was like, man, I don't really want to hire anybody that I knew.
I got to start talking to people I don't know.
Yeah, I was like, no, man, because I've been screwed over way more by acquaintances and people like that than anything. But
that's the danger. It's like, no, man, I know you. Like, I know you. This is not like I know too much. You can't fool me. I know.
No, man, and vouching for people too, and it's just like it was just a funny reality because I was like, well, didn't make any sense at all. And so my whole strategy going in was like, no. But I don't know. I kind of just grew through that. I ended up going to a boutique agency where I kind of, grew with them, took on a leadership role, and really started just like just looking at different streamlining those different processes and looking for technology opportunities to just to make us more efficient, and really started embracing the looking for automation. This was kind of pre AI as well. So it was more so like, how can we create different triggers in our workflows and whatnot for things to happen automatically to cut down on the labor intensive pieces of recruiting.
Yeah.
So by doing that, I'm doing all these demos for CRMs and ATSs and all these other stuff. I'm like, you know what? If I could go out and do the journey of trying to figure out how to create consistency through technology and just create a mirrored experience for the candidate experience and the client one. And if you can create consistency and you could use automation and eventually AI and whatnot to basically make it more scalable and less labor intensive, and that way you can just streamline the whole process. And that's kind of the whole, like, the premise behind Loophire. So I went on that, never, I was a kind of a like a solo founder with that, but a non-technical founder.
Yeah.
So, if I knew now what I didn't know then, type of thing, or like, whatever. I mean, that was a bit
founder founding a technology company.
Yeah. Alone. Yeah. So, there's a big learning curve, and then, like, man, I could write a book on, what not to do in that scenario. But the entire time,
that's the valuable
it
stuff.
is.
The stuff to do is the easy stuff. The stuff not to do and what to say no to is way harder.
Definitely. And it's like the structure of it, and who to trust, who not to. A lot of that is in the development, because you're completely ignorant. And you're like, it's like, oh, that's cool, just develop this product, and and everything will be fine, is going to work. And then you figure out, like, 70 grand later, that it's a pile of shit, and it was written from all over the world and scrapped together. And so then you got to start over. And yeah, so some good learning lessons, and then ways to educate yourself on those things. But yeah, I mean, I've always basically been in the recruiting piece of it in order to fund the technology and growth of it. So it's just like that bootstrapping, that journey of doing that. And yeah, we ended up we were actually supposed to launch Loophire on March 10th of 2020. So
Whoops.
that didn't I was like, oh shit. All right. So
does anybody need any employees? Oh
my God.
No,
dude.
maybe later, maybe in a bit. What do you think?
Yeah. Literally, I was like, I've never pivoted faster to essential companies. And, like, we weren't even really doing that much of that stuff, right? But I'm like, all right, like, welders, iron workers, like, it was just anything, like manufacturing, like all that stuff, even some healthcare type things. But we ended up launching it out, like basically January 1 of 21. And we've grown the company and scaled it and continued to build out the technology. And yeah, it's stronger than ever. And it's like, we basically built out our entire operating system that now we're actually looking at some pretty large scale partnerships to create marketplaces for them as a spinoff of, like, what we've already created. So we got a pretty exciting opportunity coming up in the healthcare space that it's kind of like your sponsorship thing. I can't talk about it yet, but it's looking pretty promising. We've been working on it for about 6 months. And so, yeah, just that seamless, I guess, a technology system that can mirror a lot of what the human recruiter does. Like, imagine working with that rock star, recruiter that's just like the rainmaker that can handle tons of shit, makes tons of placements, makes tons of money, or whatever it is. There's reasons why they're good at what they do. A lot of it is in process. We've been able to work with people like that and create automation, and using now a lot of AI to make those to automate a lot of those steps and to make it just very communicative, streamlined, and consistent. And now we're going to bring that to marketplaces for different industries.
Do you end up working with the end user, like the company that's trying to hire people, or do you end up also working with recruiting companies that need better technology and have the network, so to speak, but don't have an efficient process to go use their network to recruit?
For the first, so it's It's an interesting scenario that we're in because it's not meant to like I love the recruiting business even on its worst days and whatnot, and I believe in what recruiters do, and there's just such a there's a huge like relationship component and whatnot. But ultimately, this is to be able to create a similar scenario, but more effectively and scalable, and I'm honestly more affordably. So
Mhm.
it's really not for the staffing industry. It's more so a marketplace that's going to connect larger companies directly with either clinicians or certain types of candidates that are job seeking.
Yeah. Do you is it a competitor then or a replacement for like an Indeed or a Zip or a job board, so to speak?
The
Um,
closest thing would be to that, yeah.
okay. I mean, it sounds like that, but on steroids, because that's just such a it's like in a way like a funny classified ads still.
Yep,
In a lot of ways, it's just like smash your resume out here and pay per click for
yeah,
a bunch of shitty applicants, and then hopefully you have a good way to weed through them.
yeah.
Is what that
And
always sounds
they know exactly what they're doing too. The thing is like what we've created has been it's there's a lot of different ideas out there and and technologies that are being built that are doing components of what this is, but like it's not necessarily some like novel, like recreating the wheel type of thing.
like.
Like
Mhm.
Indeed and ZipRecruiter's kind of shit these days, but I mean, it's all these other job boards. There's thousands of them. They know
Yeah.
exactly what they're doing. They're just some online newspaper,
Yep.
like it's a classified ad, like you said. Anybody can click apply, this and that. They have some matching and stuff like that, but like it doesn't fix the whole process of actually the business owner, the hiring manager that's getting bombarded with dog shit, and it doesn't create a user experience that an actual like a recruiter, or a staffing agency, somebody who's hand holding and nurturing that relationship.
Yep.
A lot of the reason success in that it's not just sourcing the candidate; it's actually nurturing them through the process from end to end to make
Yep.
sure it's successful. And there's all those components that go with it to actually to babysit the whole thing to success. And job boards are never going to do that.
Yep.
There's a lot of things that we're building out and actually that we're going to be replicating through the labor intensive things that recruiters do that will actually provide that experience.
It sounds a little bit, and this is a very dated analogy here, but it sounds a little bit like back in the day, if you were throwing your name in that hat in the dating game, like pre online dating stuff, it was
Mhm.
just you even a job board's not a good analogy, but it was just kind of like you were just shooting from the hip. You were maybe going out to the bar and just like looking for somebody that looked good, and then you would find out how crazy they were later. Um,
Yeah.
and then stuff like Match.com and eHarmony, I don't know if any of those even exist anymore, but I met my wife on Match.com, and it was
Ah,
like a
nice.
cheat code to finding something that otherwise, like, I wasn't gonna be able to like seek that out and have something that could like hook me up with the right people. Again, I don't even know if they even exist anymore. Um,
That's a good thing you don't.
Alicia says that's me. I'm getting bombarded by dog shit. And that's like,
Sorry,
I
Alicia.
own part of a recruiting business. That's the game that we play at hiring technicians is we got to go get it the biggest pile of dog shit possible and have the best way to filter it. And like there's great nuggets in that dog shit, but the process in our game is we got to get through all that dog shit.
Yeah.
And do that as efficiently as possible and then try to connect here's the good ones with the business owner. Um,
Well, and the tough part about that is too. So, like, I forgot to add this piece of it. The biggest component is these people they're certified or they're accredited in something specific.
mhm,
So what we're building. So when you're talking healthcare, the whole like it's almost like it's a marketplace, but it's like it's probably closer to like an Upwork, but it's on site. And so imagine like you needed it's a technician of some sort, like maybe it's a diesel tech or whatever it is.
mhm,
There's not from anything that I've researched and seen, that's definitely not mainstream. Where if you needed a diesel tech to come in and they were certified in this, and this, for in theory, if they have all those certifications and they have experience, they check all the boxes, they should be able to show up, work on the project, and then leave over X amount of time.
Yeah.
like in theory. But like that's the one thing that is like whether this be a CPA, this can be a diesel technician, this can be a nurse, doctor, whatever it is. If they're certified, they've gone through all the all the steps to get that done. So I'm not saying they're going to be the best at it, but they're viable to walk through the door and work on
They're
it.
pre-qualified.
Correct. And that's the biggest component of what this is that they should be able to show up in a lot of things like shifts and it's like small projects. And so there's per diem spaces and things like that we're looking at because it's so the next 10 years gig work, like you guys, we're already all seeing this, like
Oh yeah.
there's no loyalty to companies anymore.
Yep.
Like people don't give a shit, mostly the younger generations. I got some cool data that I think anybody that you guys might be interested in too, talking about Gen Z and some of the shifts back to the employment. It's the cards are moving over to the employment side again.
Oh really?
Yeah, we're starting to see the trends, man.
Interesting.
Yeah, we can get into that. But yeah, I mean, those are those things where it's like people want like it's the freedom to be able to do that, and now there's opportunities in that. Whether it's the digital nomad or somebody's just like, you know what, I want to pick up extra shifts on I'm not making enough money. I want to work on the weekends. I want to do this, whatever it is.
Yeah.
The freedom to actually go bid on that, and you're accredited, and that you can show up, and then you're going to know your way around. That you're qualified to do that. It's just aligning ourselves with industries and candidates that those I guess those qualities or those specifics are determined.
Yeah. Is that like the niche you guys are trying to stick with? It has to be some sort of role or industry where there's a level of accreditation that you can confirm some way and shape, how, form, whatever?
Yeah. I mean, we're going to start that way because the rest of it too, because this way you don't have, and that's why we like healthcare to start with, but there's definitely ones I mean, we got to get through, kind of those, we got to launch, do all those little things first,
Yeah.
and maybe make a couple million, this and that, see what happens, get some product fit, marketplace fit and whatnot. But once we do that, we've already identified some industries that are in desperate need of those, where the talent shortage is literally breaking companies on the verge of like devastation, like CPA firms for example.
Yeah, tell me about it, because I'm trying to find a good one to work with, and they're hard to find, real hard to find.
Man, I mean, the talent it's impossible. It literally is, and it's people are leaving. 300,000 people have left public accounting in the last 3 years.
Where are they going? What do they
They're
do?
going to an 8 to 5 job where they don't have to fucking deal with the season.
Yeah.
Like it's the whole 60 to 80 hour weeks. Like I talked to this candidate the other day, and she's like, have you ever heard of like frozen shoulder? And I was like, no, like what is that? She goes, that's when you sit at a computer 18 hours a day for 3 months crunching numbers. And she's like, literally, it's like a medical term or something like that. Like she is being physical therapy now from accounting.
Oh my gosh.
Like what?
It's brutal.
And she's like, no, I mean, I'll take like a 12 or 14 hour day. It's just better than 18. I'm like,
why did you stay that long, lady? Like
she was there for like 12 years. Like, so I mean, it's wild. It's just we're seeing a lot of it's kind of it's an old school industry. It's a lot of the partners are they're in their 60s and 70s, and there's a lot of mentality of like, hey, we've always done business this way.
Yep.
And I worked this hard and I did all this.
That's the best logic ever is, well, we've always done it this way. That logic works every time, Chris. Don't you know?
Yeah.
That's how businesses grow. This is why we do it, because we've always done it this way. Because I said so. That's why.
Right.
Yeah.
You got a 24-year-old kid comes in, starts talking about flexibility and hybrid and remote and all that. And they're like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Get out of my office.
Yeah, this is flexible. You can get up and pee once every 2 hours.
Literally, man. It's
flex work schedule.
It's wild. And so they're now, it's like, it's not a little too late, but like the clients that we're working with, because literally we're like a life raft for them. Like some of them, if they don't find the talent, or they don't outsource, or they don't, like, we're looking at a number of different options, but literally it's like, it's so dependent on these people being able to process returns and do payroll or, bookkeeping or whatever it is. Like they're going to close. So it's things like that. But like, okay, so what are the alternatives then? Do we keep doing the same thing we're doing, and while everybody's leaving, like, in masses because it sucks, or do you find a way that you can, you can modify, you can streamline this, you can look at remote options, you basically just make pivots in that. Like if you're worried about the accountants, like CPA firms are worried about the client interaction or whatnot, have your senior people do that, and then look at remote people doing processing the returns, and then they're confirming them and this and that. There's just like it was wild, like a light bulb went off on numerous clients we were working with. They're like, oh, but on the other hand, bigger firms like Deloitte, and there's a big one down here called Lutz, they're outsourcing everything overseas. Like all the administrative work, things like that. And like, they're getting ahead of it. And people are like, I mean, Nebraska too, like if you deal with anything ag, they're like over my dead body, they're not doing my return. But there's like security risk and there's other compliance type things. Like there's just a lot of like unknowns, and also AI is becoming a huge thing on that piece too. Yep. So it's just a really fucked up industry right now. That needs it needs adjustments. It needs to get up to speed. And a lot of the partners that are on their way out, and some people even still doing like actual physical record keeping.
Yeah, I run into that with bookkeeping clients every once in a while where they're like, yeah, I'm using the CPA. We've just been doing everything on paper so far. I'm just like, what's paper? I don't know what? Like, you mean like from a tree? Is that what you're talking about? Like
you think they're joking? You're like, oh, yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, like you print your QuickBooks P&L when you're done with it. What do you mean paper?
I went and saw this client, man.
Run into a few every once in a while. It's goofy.
It's wild. I went and saw this client, and they've been around forever. And like, it was like 12 feet high of Manila folders, and like for the partners' offices, they had like this, like like you walk, it was like a horseshoe.
And yeah, you just have enough folders where those become the cue balls.
And literally, we were like, I don't even know anything about you guys. I mean, you seem like a nice enough dude, but I'm like, that can't be efficient.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know exactly what you guys are doing here, but there's like a really clear thing going on that I can see.
I was just like, what the fuck?
So if somebody is obviously like needing to hire employees, and that's why they're calling you guys, do you get into the business consulting side of it, or do you like how do you handle that? Because I know in our recruiting business we run into that a lot, where it's like, lady, I could get you as many applicants as you want, but the way you're built right now, it doesn't matter. You're not going to be able to keep any of them. Nobody's going to want to work here. You don't have a job that anybody would want. So you can recruit all the people you want, and you can hire all the people that you want, but nobody's going to stay. And you're going to blame us because we hired you a bunch of people that wouldn't stay. But are you actually willing to like make the changes to keep employees? And are you ready to change your business model to do it? Because the way I'm looking at it, I don't know that. Like, I don't think recruiting's your immediate problem. I think that's the second problem, maybe the third problem that you got. Do you run into the same thing, and how do you address that when they hired you to help them find employees?
All the time. I mean, so the way we do like our business development process and the steps, like there's discovery that goes into that, where we're going to uncover a lot of those things. But like, there's been a number of times when we've gone through like the full onboarding, because 99% of what we do is retained. And so we're on the staffing side. It's kind of confusing. We're building out this technology, but the staffing side funds everything. And it's also, now we're going to be probably splitting those two businesses apart. Okay. Keeping the search firm, but like with a retained search firm, we really are looking at ourselves more advisors and consultants on those things. So there's been a number of times when we've done discovery, and like you get like the the high level of what they need and this and that. You can only ask so many questions, but then we do a full onboarding where we do like executive alignment. We look at the brand, we look at the recruitment strategy, all the challenges, everything they've done to this point, who their customers are, like price points, like retention, like the whole, like there's a whole gamut, like a list that's like pages long of like that we're really digging into to determine if they're going to be a viable partner for us, or if we can even help them. Because that's the thing, is like there's nothing worse than latching on to a company that there's just no hope of success for that. Not only that too, if you're looking at retention problems, we care just as much about the clients as we our reputation, and putting the candidates that we source in there. If they're going to be like, dude, it's our job to sell opportunities and hopes and dreams.
Yeah. And you match me with this asshole.
Exactly. You get them hired, and like, this was, I mean, I've had a number of these situations. It doesn't happen that often, but like we had a client that we started working with next year who had ended up having problems, and they were one of the only few that were on the contingent side. We made like 5 placements with them, and then they just started like, they just, churn just started happening. They're like, oh man, like we didn't like this person, or the
Yeah.
candidates were like, this place sucks, this and that. And then like I'll out of the blue the other day, like I think it was like a month ago, they're like, yeah, we're closing our doors. And just like, it was just like a transportation company, and we were like,
Yeah.
"Well, I never seen that shit happen before." But it was just some things like that. We should have seen the writing on the wall. And honestly, that we got into that relationship, like they were like, "Look, like you get us people, we'll hire them right now, 25% fee, you know, like good wage, this and that." Some like kind of too good to be true shit.
Yep.
We hired 4 people in like a week, you know, at like 50 to 60K. So like we were looking at all the dollar signs, but literally it was like, this is why we do what we do, to be a true trusted partner, and to even give them both, like we give them the advice and the news, whether it's good or bad.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, we're like, this process sucks. Like you're never going to get anybody like this. Like we run a full market analysis, competitive analysis, like the benefits, all of those pieces. Like, why are they an attractive employer to bring on board? Like basically it's this, like we also market these companies like publicly, since we're retained and like we consider ourselves a partner in that. Like we expose who our clients are, which is rare in the US. It's rare to
Yeah.
do that for your clients, because you're always worried about like, oh, they're gonna, like other staffing firms are gonna take our clients. Like we're retained per role, whether they fill it or not, we get paid. Like so, if they filled it without us, we're like, all right, cool, we get paid. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. So that's the thing, though, is like we have to promote your company, and we have to make you guys look great and be attractive to candidates. And a lot of the stuff we deal with is with passive, mostly like Omaha and Lincoln, like surrounding areas of the Midwest, super low unemployment rate,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah. You're having
drastically
to
low in the
find
accounting
people.
space.
You're not just having people knocking down your door to pair it up.
Yeah, and when the demographics, or like the price points and things like that, or the, you know, the roles and the industries that we focus on, that's basically like it's our strategy. So we'll look at these roles where I'm like, there's no way you're finding people. If we're having trouble, you're definitely having trouble. So we have a whole team. We got, you know, we got tech, we got experience. So like we're going to be able to. It's time and pressure and systems to be able to attract these candidates and to eventually get them. You know, and yeah, cool. It could take 2 weeks. It could take 6 weeks, whatever it is, depending on the complexity of the role. But we know for a fact that if this is difficult, then it's impossible for a company.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, like if you're struggling, then that's the time to outsource it. That's why you came knocking. Do you
Right.
have you seen real and I've noticed this just in the last like 6-12 months, maybe. On the marketing side, lead flow is down a little bit, conversion rates are down a little bit with most of our like home service clients, but the labor market has eased off a lot. Not, I won't say like quite back to 2018 or anything like that. Like
Yeah.
there was some great times in the 2015 to 2018 back in the day.
Those were good.
But I'll say like this is the best post COVID labor market that we've seen. Have you seen that in the spaces you work with? Have you seen that cause more people to say, hey, I could use some recruiting help to make sure I find the best people? Or does it make it hard for you to sell people because they're like, oh, the labor market's loose, I can go find my own people now? How are you guys feeling that?
So in certain, I mean, when you're looking at roles and like you start looking at like the org chart, if you're looking at entry level and things like that, yeah, the applicants are ticking up for sure.
Mhm.
But it's also paired, like it coincides too with like, I guess we'll put it this way: fourth quarter, first quarter, and then basically halfway through second was the biggest dumpster fire I've been in 15 years of staffing.
Oh, really?
The industry, like, so the main players, like the industry as a whole in staffing recruiting was down 27%. Like
Jesus.
manpower, Robert Half, like
Oh,
all the
yeah.
big boys, like, you know,
Yeah.
Corn Ferry, all that. They're like, this shit sucks. And we
Yeah.
saw it too. We were like, whoa, this is bad. Like
Yeah.
some record losses, and also like peers in our industry down here. I got a family member in it. My brother's actually in the industry. He's like, yeah, this shit blows. So like,
kind of wonder. I mean, some of it seemed to be labor market, but I also see more and more people entering the market in recruiting and staffing because of the last few years. The opportunity was there where everybody was needing recruiting help, and so we've seen that in our industry, like probably 2 to 3x recruiting companies, or like employee scoring companies, or ATS systems, applicant tracking systems, whatever it is. Just all of a sudden they're just like coming out of the woodwork. Everybody's got one. And like software like Go High Level has made it easier for people to create those automations on their own a little bit. And that's causing companies to kind of come out of the woodwork, which is cool. And it makes you like think about your systems and processes and where you can add unique value. But I've seen a little bit of that too, or a lot of bit of that, I should say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you're seeing it. It depends on, it's obviously industry, role, what that looks like. You know, there's been, I mean, depending on the industry, there's been a lot of layoffs and like, you know, larger companies. Like for what labor market wise, you know, we kind of have this thing is we'll do manufacturing, we'll do production, you know, we'll do kind of more like unique skill set stuff. We kind of have a barrier where like we don't typically go under like, it's like, you know, it's like a $25 an hour type of thing. So when it starts to kind of be a little bit more specialized, you know, but I mean, we're definitely seeing that where I mean, I follow the data on Indeed and job boards and things like that just to see where we can position ourselves. And if it's like, you know, we might take on a role in like rural, so like Iowa or something like that. It could be like a CNC, like a, you know, a programmer, or, you know, like a setup machinist or something like that. And we're looking at all that data. There's definitely been an uptick of active candidates, but that also doesn't mean like there's a lot of times when, mostly in the Midwest where we are, the active candidates, like a lot of times they're active for a reason. So more so now since the layoffs and stuff like that, or business slowing down, like companies cutting the fat. So you'll see some good active candidates, but like historically, across Nebraska, Iowa, and whatnot, that small candidate pool of active candidates is like it's typically for a reason. So we took the strategy of going on the passive side, very specialized, because you got to pull somebody out of there. We created systems like marketing programs and like actual, like, you know, technology to attract candidates in specific ways, you know, like a 360, you know, it's the 24/7 365, like omni-channel marketing system is what we call it. It's fancy bullshit, but like basically it's like we put the systems to go where every candidate that we identify that's within the realm of what our client's seeking, they get up to 10 touches over X amount of time. And so we'll still, it can be a pool of 200 people that we're trimming down to 20 that we actually might have a conversation with, that short list of 3. But like that program, that passive marketing and those campaigns we're running, they're running in our sleep. And that's really what that's what we found has to be successful with that. Because again, it's advertising, you know. And like, how do you create the most attractive package for somebody to look at that's going to be better, that's going to, for them to uproot their life and come over to this place? So we had to really dig into that.
This is a perfect time. I was just about to bring up our man Sean Day. He says, C. Jones, what's up, man? I said, exactly. The C employees are getting laid off first, so it's even more vital to have an effective screening process in place when you're hiring blue-collar folks. Sean always says this. He's a broken record about it, and he's dead on, and you just talked about it, which is recruiting is just marketing. And it's I actually think I look at it from the bookkeeping perspective, which is I see companies spending 5 to 10% of their revenue on marketing, and they spend like maybe, if they're aggressive, 1% of their revenue on recruiting. And I'm like, you guys have it so backwards. The customers will come. You need to go find the best employees in the world. It should be the other way around, because nobody's bitching about their clients. I mean, you bitch about the goofy clients, but it's not like you just took them because they came and signed up and blah, blah, blah. You didn't filter them as hard. But everybody's bitching about bad employees and not doing anything about it and not investing in it. And I'll tell you what, if you have good employees, the marketing gets way easier, because your great employees are going to sell your business. They're going to get all the referrals and the repeats and grow your business. If you have shitty employees, you're not going to get any of that stuff. You're going to have to keep spending 5 to 10% on marketing because you're going to have to keep replacing all the customers that left because you had shitty employees. And so it's so funny how backwards people have that. And they're just afraid to spend money on recruiting. And I'm just like, man, how many, this is another Sean Dayism. He's like, I don't know a time, maybe like an hour that I spent feeling sorry that we lost a customer. Shit, that was a good customer, right? When I've lost a good employee or don't get an applicant to become an employee, like I lose sleep. I lose sleep over my team. I don't lose sleep over customers.
No, there'll always be another, man. I mean, like shit, I've like devastated to lose certain people, and I mean, we're all, it's susceptible to that. I lost a sales guy recently that he was with us for a year, and he was like such a talented, sharp dude, and he got offered a remote position. They paid him like 25% more in salary, and they just saw the larger transportation company remote. Like they gave him the world, and I'm like, I can't match that because you're not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'm not going to ROI on you, and there's too much of a risk in that. And like, we were devastated. I mean, like that shit sucks. That's the losing sleep. And it's like, how do you replicate that person? And you found all the, like you can mirror the qualities and this and that, but how they do it, and mostly with us, like our job, like to do business development, run accounts, and to have candidate involvement. The staffing business is hard in that piece of it, where it takes a very special type of person, and the majority of people don't work out in that business development account manager kind of like split desk role. So like he's a tough one to recreate. So like, Sean, I'm completely with you, man. I mean, like you can go out and find another client, but like the value of your employees, mostly the good ones, I mean, that shit, they become your family. They're the ones who sell the brand. They're the real reason you're successful.
Yep.
Yeah. So like you gotta nurture those people, man. Cherish them, because it sucks.
It does suck. But I mean, it sucks, but at the same time, like I'm all for graduating an employee. I want people to leave to go pursue things, and they might come back, right? I might not have that seat on the bus that they have elevated to. And I totally get that. And like, I feel like that's my duty as their leader, is to keep pushing them, and I might push them out. But I need to have a freaking bench of at least 10 people ready to replace them. And I have 2 people right now that I haven't hired yet, but I came 6 months ago in my last like round of very active recruiting. Still want to bring both of those people on. Waiting for when the capacity and demand equals the right amount to bring them on, so they're not sitting around twiddling their thumbs. But I'm already recruiting a whole bunch to get my list back up to 10. Like 10 is my number. I need 10 people that I've interviewed, approved, and I know who I'm going to call first. And I never want to be without that, what Sean and I call the hopper. Like, I need to know who I'm going to call first. Now, of those 10 people, I might never even call the bottom 5. There's a reason why they were the bottom 5 of that 10, but I probably need 500 applicants to get that list of 10 really good ones that I like. And once I get through my top 5 or 6, I'm probably going to start recruiting again and getting the next list. But as a business owner, as a manager, as a leader, like you deserve those top 5, because we've all made the mistake of hiring the first good enough person that comes along. And that person at some point leaves by their own will or by our will. It never works out when we hire a person that's good enough. We put up with it. But we got to demand more. We deserve more. For our own sakes, for our spouse's sake, for our children's sake, so that they get their dad back or their mom back or whoever, so that we're not backfilling for the persons that's not carrying their weight, their fair share.
Amen.
I'm just adamant about that. We spend so much time dealing with bad employees and not investing in recruiting, and it just drives me nuts. It's like, what are you sitting here? Like, I just see it all the time. People complaining about, I can't find anybody that wants to work anymore. It's like, you spent $500 on ad boosting. You spent $4,000 this month on Google ads. The fuck is wrong with you? You should have spent $4,000 on job boosting to go find a bunch of applicants, and $500 on Google ads You can turn that around the minute you actually have good employees, or maybe spend half of that money on some leadership skills so you can keep them.
Right.
But so many people just shortcut recruiting and then act like it's the applicant's fault that they can't keep anybody.
It's just, no, I mean, that's the thing, man. It's like when you're running a business, and like I'm guilty of it as well. It's like with internal employees. I mean, it's a hassle, like I love recruiting when it makes us money, but I mean, like I had to change my mindset on that, where it's like this does make you money. Like this is the investment that you're making your business to in order to generate revenue, which you can't do that with but they look at it as more of a hassle. It's like, oh, I don't have time for it. I got other shit I got to do. I'm like, probably arguably you could say it's like that's the employees are the most important component of it.
Yeah, you have other shit you got to do because you haven't hired somebody to do it for you yet. That's why you have other shit you got to do. And yet you're avoiding hiring somebody to do the shit, and then you're acting like you're mad that you got to do it. Like,
I mean, I sympathize with them, we pull out all those all the pains and the challenges and whatever. But I'm kind like we have a company because people don't do it right. They don't spend the time, they're focusing on the things that they do, whatever, and it allows us to find, honestly, that I don't say perfect, but like that A+ person that they're going to retain long term, because all the screening and the information that we pull out, and like it's how we source and identify and qualify that person. I mean, that's the only thing. It's like if you're going to hire us and you're going to pay premium, we're going to find you somebody amazing, and we're going to put longer guarantees on it. We're going to we have all the success data and the case studies, and the clients that have worked with us and been able to to promote that. And we were very meticulous on how we built that in order to find that exact person. It's more on that passive side. But I commented on that deal with you guys a couple weeks back or so. The one question that I had too is like building that, that's brilliant, and that's the strategy right there. Like that's the playbook. If you guys can have 10 people waiting and doing that, are these people I guess how you engage them, how you gain interest, how do you keep them engaged while being on the bench of obviously working somewhere else?
Yeah, I didn't know the answer to that. And I don't know that I have it perfectly figured out, but I've been really pleasantly surprised into what you said earlier is if you have something awesome and they know they want it, when the time's right, they're coming. And so it's this, it's the same as anything, which is it just comes down to setting really good expectations and communicating. If you set really, like I did a group interview yesterday, 15 people on it. And first thing I kind of have to say is here's the deal. I don't have a job for you right now. That's by design, because if you come and work here, the reason I'm doing this is if you're the right fit and you think I'm the right fit, I need to make 100% damn sure that when you work here, you never have to work with somebody that sucks. You never have to work with somebody that doesn't pull their own weight. And so I'm going to go way over the top on recruiting only the best of the best of the best people. And it has to be that, because we've all worked with people that didn't pull their weight, and it sucks. And our company name isn't really good bookkeeping. It's not pretty fucking average bookkeeping. It's best damn bookkeeping. And that's all I'm going to stand for. And I want people that want to deliver that and take tons of pride in delivering that and go above and beyond for their clients and for the company and for their coworkers. And so
this is for the bookkeeping company.
Yeah, this is for the bookkeeping company.
So what was that role for that you were interviewing?
Our account managers. So they'll oversee 50 to 70 clients roughly. And they, not all clients are created equal. So they'll generally oversee a book of business of so much revenue. They get X% of it once it hits a certain threshold. And so it's their job to make sure the data's right, make sure the customer understands it, make sure the customer knows what to do with it. They're kind of a finance person. But I just never want to be in the position where I'm hiring somebody reactively because I need somebody, because we lose 2 people, or we're growing too fast and we don't have anybody to call, right? I've been there before with so many businesses for the last decade where we didn't hire the best people in the world. we hired the next good person that showed up. And so it ended up making us good. And when we're good, I'm still dealing with no shows and people. And like, even in my last bookkeeping business, like 2-3 weeks would go by and I'd find out from a client, like, hey, I haven't heard from anybody. Like, what? You need to hear from us weekly. Like, what the hell happened? Like I employed somebody that was good enough, but they weren't the best. They didn't obsess about delivering for the client. And so what I tend to find is that if I have a list of 10, I like, obviously on that list of 10, I have the person that I have at number 1. Not saying they're going to be available when I call them, but I want to stay in touch with them. I want to know who I'm calling first. And I'm going to stay in communication with them for sure. And if it's not the right timing, that's fine. Because this is a marathon, not a sprint. They might not work for me for 5 years. And I tell them that. Like, it's fine if you don't come work here for 5 years. We're going to have some really cool shit going on in 5 years. Like, I'll be reaching out to you then. I'll be reaching out to you a lot in between now and then. But if you find something that's a good, and I'm still going to be in touch with you, because someday that's not going to be a good fit, and this will be. And you don't need to come work here now. I just need to know who I'm going to call first. And you can feel free to call me and say, hey, Dan, like, and I actually had this happen. I've 2 of my account managers now were like, hey, I know you're not hiring anybody immediately, but can I do some like part-time stuff? Like, I want to be a part of this. How can I help? Do you need help doing some sales stuff? I've done that. Do you need help making some content? I've done some marketing stuff before. And so they're just immediately, they're like, I'm part of it. I want to be part of it. How can I help? And then then you're like, yeah, let me figure something out. We'll find a way. Right. But it gives you, if I would have hired the first couple people that were good enough, I wouldn't have got to that person. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I've just found over the years, I haven't built a big enough list. And when you have that list, and as long as everybody that's on that list knows what the game plan is, they're fine. Right. Like, you just need to set really clear expectations. And I'm just always really surprised that if you stay in touch with them, it works out more often than not. Like, the timing works out. And if they know you're interested, they'll wait a little bit longer, and they'll hold out where they're at a little bit longer, because you're telling them, hey, I'm thinking maybe 3 to 6 months is when, at the pace we're at, that's when I can bring you on. And so instead of them jumping ship of where they're at, they're going to hang where they're at for that 3 months, and they're going to check in and say, hey, I'm still here. When's a good time? And I'll say 3 weeks. Could you make it 3 more weeks? Like, here's what we got going on, and I'm going to need you then. And it just always seems, as long as we stay communicating, which is so much of it, it just seems to work out way better than I would have thought. I was very worried of like having that big of a list, and I'm just surprised at how well it works.
Nice. Well, I think it also, I mean, that's a testament to you doing some really cool shit, having a great company, having a great brand. You know, like, if you're a sought after employee or employer in the market, you know, I mean, like, as you're talking, I mean, that resonated with me. Is like, imagine how many fucking applicants are people on the bench for Google, or some of these other companies. Like, man, they'll wait years, like a lifetime, to be able to go work there, or Apple, or whatever it is. Like, in some sort of a fashion, that's what it's done. So like, you've created enough of a great place where, people want to work there. You're retaining people. The brand's great. They believe in you as a founder and whatnot. And I think that's a huge thing that a lot of business owners don't do well enough. It's like, what are you doing to make it that type of opportunity where you can have a bench of people? Like, those days are just like, hey, I expect people, like, hey, we're going to run an ad, or like, why don't people, like, people are just going to want to work here. Bullshit. They're not. People don't want to, like, younger generation, like, people don't want to leave their couch, man. Like, they can make a shit ton of money on their laptop, and you expect people to come in here and do this and be a part, drink your Kool-Aid and whatever. Like, what are you doing to make it? Like, yeah. So you've done an awesome job with that, man. That's cool.
I think, and I think a lot of it goes down to back to that recruiting is marketing. When I do a group interview, I ask 0 questions. It's a presentation. And I set them straight with that right from the get-go. Is like, hey, I don't have a job for you right away. And the point of today is not for me to choose you. I actually think it's way more important that you guys choose me. You can leave. I can't leave. This is my company. If you come work here, you're fucking stuck with me. Like, I'm the one thing that isn't going to leave this company. And if I do, then we're all leaving. We out. Like, this is my company. And so it's way more important. Like, if you made it through all the filters and you're here at this point, it's way more about you choosing me. And so let me tell you the good and the bad and the ugly and the fun stuff and the stupid stuff. And I'm just going to be Dan. And you're going to have to, and if you like that, cool. If you don't like that, that's cool too. Just don't come work here. Like, cause this is what we're all about. And if you're not totally like 100%, I actually tell them when I go through our core values, I'm like, this is really important right here, guys, is when I read you, like, I'm going to go over this and tell you some stories. And when I get through the core values, this is the assessment that I want you to do internally is, you need to be of the mind of, fuck yeah. That has to be your attitude when I tell them that. I was like, that has to be your attitude when I finish these core values. If it's not, that's fine. Just don't come work here. Because if this doesn't give you a fuck yeah, you're just not going to love it here. And I don't want you to come work here if you're not going to love it here. Go work somewhere else. There's tons of places to go work. You don't have to work here. I'm stuck working here. This is my ship. Like, I'm the captain of this ship. I'm going down with it. You don't have to. So don't be all in unless that's what you feel like. You don't sign up. Like, you're opting in. This is your chance to opt in. And it's like a cool mechanism for me to give them accountability and ownership. Is like, this is your choice. And you got to choose this. You got to sign up for this. And so it does tend to attract people that have that attitude of like, yep, this is like, I'm on this ship. And it detracts some people too. And that's great. It's like a great filter is if you're not totally bought into this, that's fine. Just go buy into something else. Just don't act like you're bought in and then not actually be bought into this. Get out of here.
What percentage do you say are active versus people that are like, there's like, I guess I'll preface this, but it's like, you got like active where they're like, yeah, like I need a fucking job. Or you got like, passive active or like, my boss is a dick. This place sucks.
Yep. You froze up right
ready to leave what I like, kind of active,
Hold on, you froze up after you're back now, but you froze up after passive active, like my boss sucks. Then what was the third one?
Okay. Yeah, it's like your boss is a dick, and then it's like you're like, all right, so I'm testing the waters. I'd be open. There's basically just like there's levels to like, of the job search.
Yep.
What buying cycle are you in? So I guess with those when you do the group interviews and whatnot, are these people more like active, or are they like kind of active, employed, like basically unemployed, or like kind of checked out employed? Like what's that candidate pool look like?
I'm gonna say this is just super rough estimate. It's 25% active, like I'm looking for a job now. And I address them right off the bat. I'm like, this is not the interview you were hoping for. If you're looking for a job right now, because I don't have one right now. I'd still encourage you to stick it out because this might be the job for you in 5 years or 2 years or whatever it is. I would say probably 50% are semi-active where they're like, hey, I have a job, but I'm ready for a new job. And either I know this one's coming to an end, or if I find the right thing, then I know this one's coming to an end sort of thing. And then I'd say 25% are just kind of like, I just got to see what's out there. Like this remote work, like right now I'm in the office, but I'm curious about remote work and this is a remote job. And so let me like scope it out and see what's going on. I'd say it kind of,
is this a remote job?
Yeah. Yeah. Totally remote.
Okay.
And so you get a lot of people are interested in it for that. Like they want to be able to work remote. And I hit that too. I go through the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm like, there's so much flexibility in this job, enough where you can hang yourself, right? You can tie your own noose. Because and I do it all the time. I'm hunting and fishing and doing all sorts of stuff. And I got 3 kids, so I'm chasing them around. But then I'm making shows at night. And then I'm sending out bids at night. And then on the weekends, I'm jumping in and doing a bunch of stuff. And so you don't have to be me, but you got to get all your shit done. And so there's a bunch of shit to do within a week. And I trust that you're going to get it done. And it's the beauty of remote work is that like, go down and move some laundry along. I don't care.
Right.
But if you need to call a customer or if a customer calls you, you got to do that too. And you can be moving laundry while you do that. And you can have your kid jump in your Zoom meeting while you're on a call with a client. That's real. I'm all about that. My kids always jump on my calls. I don't have a problem with that. That's like our customers know us, right? It's there's something that ties us in with people when we see their family. Like then they're real. Then they're just like us. But you still gotta get your shit done. Like let your kids hang out for 2 minutes and get their asses out of there because you still gotta get your shit done. And so it's like a goofy line where with remote work, the expectation is still there, the flexibility is there, and that's attractive, but it makes the accountability of the work even that much greater. Like
and they say you work longer. Actually, I mean that's because you can't escape it. You know, I mean, there will always be the argument of like, you know, remote work, people don't do shit, this and that. It's like whatever. I mean, but a lot of it boils down to this. It's like if they're not managed correctly and you let those people hang themselves, like if there isn't accountability and there's not a good structure, I mean that the employee's gonna suck at fucking on site too.
Yep. Yeah.
You
it's
know,
a behavioral thing. Behavioral
yeah.
thing. People that like
have
work
that
hard and
structure,
produce, they'll work hard and produce. They take pride in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and have good structure and accountability for them. It doesn't matter where they are. I mean, you know, and that's the whole thing. Like hybrid's been a good happy medium to it, you know. But you know, and I don't know how much time we got left, but I was going to tell you this about like I was looking at some data the other day. So like the amount of applications that people like the younger Gen Z they're coming up from last year in order to actually even get like internships and things like that, 47% up. So
Really?
like we're talking hundreds of applicants, even for internships and whatnot. So my point is in that is like, you know, the whole I want I expect $60,000 coming out of college, or like I'm 22 and I think I deserve the world, or whatever this is. That shit's coming to an end. So Sean might be able to back me up on this, but you are starting to see that like the data's coming out where they're like, dude, I just need a fucking job.
Yeah.
Like I need stability. I need to pay my bills. I need to get out of my parents' basement, whatever that is. But like then that starts looking at it where like over 3 to 5 years type of thing, you see the shifts where it's like it's a candidate's market, it's an employer's market type of deal.
Yep.
I mean, the last 5 years or so, I mean, God, it's been a candidate's market. Like I guess you could say, depending, like COVID kind of threw a little wrench in that, but like
that made things interesting.
It did for sure. But then like with oh man, like it was the biggest talent shortage ever. The last like it was awesome to be a recruiter the last couple of years. I guess I mean fourth quarter this year's been kind of tough, but I would say like post COVID couple years, and then 2016 to 2020 or so, like the gold rush, man, it's great. You know, like but for recruiting,
it feels a little bit. I wasn't alive for this, but based on what I know about history, this transition feels a little bit like going from the 70s to the 80s, or maybe like the 60s to the 70s, when the 60s was like peace, love, and rock and roll, man. And it was a weird, like almost socialist type of thing. And now
you get a kick in the ass, and they're like, get to fucking work.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden it was like, let's rock and roll and get our asses to work.
I mean, that's what it's looking like. I mean, it's the mentality has changed, because I mean, those are the things where LinkedIn comes out with these studies every year, and it talks about like, okay, what's important. You're starting the last couple of years have been like, I want to make an impact. I want like, I want like the correct culture or leadership, or it could be the DEI type of stuff, like whatever, those different things. Like the data coming out now is like, I need a job, and I don't give a shit what it is. And that makes me happy, because I'm sorry, it does. I mean, like, I believe in all of those things. I believe in a great culture, and I believe it also. I believe in like the equal, like the marketplace scenario where it's like I have something to offer, and if it's solid or whatever, I don't need somebody like the I guess the candidate coming in and making demands on certain things because there's a talent shortage or something like that. It's like. And I think it's just it's a mentality thing, which is important. Like your younger generations and whatnot, like it's important that you get in there and you get consistent, you learn, you build the skills, you grow, like you become, you mature and whatnot. All those wonderful things that you're asking for, those.
Oh, I lost you. Where'd you go?
Am I here?
How did that happen? I was like
No.
reaching to hit a thing on my phone to turn the volume down because I was gonna like view the comments in there. And then I realized that my computer's a touchscreen because I hit your face on my computer. Like if I have my phone over here and then I totally hit your computer.
I just thought I got censored. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, now you did it.
There it is.
Facebook just was on to you and just booted you, man. Can you believe that? No, I saw comments coming in the feed on Facebook, but they're not landing in StreamYard for some reason. And so I was like, I gotta go check those comments out and see what people are saying. So you keep going because you were going. You were on something good before I censored you.
No, just saying, like you gotta, earn your stripes. You know, that's the thing. Is like it's the shift coming back into where it's not such a candidate market. There's more applicants. There's more competition. The mindset or the shift in that mentality, when it becomes more competitive, a lot of that bullshit goes to the side. You know, where these are nice to haves more than mandatories. And I do think that there's it's for small business owners, for hiring managers and whatnot, who, you know, they hold a special place. I think it will relieve a lot of the stress and make things more just less difficult. You'll be able to have more access to talent and just less bullshit comes with it.
Yep. I think even when the labor market is a little bit better and the labor is of the mindset of like, hey, I got to go get a job, there's still a huge competitive advantage to being the best employer. Like
all day.
And even if that is the attitude and people are wanting to get out there and get the work done, their ability to jump jobs is still way higher than it used to be. The transparency of data and I don't want to say like a lack of loyalty, because loyalty is a two-way street. And so people will jump jobs if they're not receiving loyalty too, right? If they're working for a shitty employer, I would jump that job as well.
How do you keep them?
Right. And so I think there's still a huge place for the culture and the leadership. It's still a super competitive labor market because I only want the top 0.01%. I don't want anybody that's good. I don't. It's just I've had plenty of good employees before. Can do better than that. Somebody else can have the good employees. I want the best damn employees. And so I like a labor market where people like to go to work, want to work hard, want that independence. But that's promising that you're starting to see that data. I honestly hadn't heard that before. But
handshake came out with it.
But like you said, it's just to ebb and a flow too. And we're coming off of post-COVID and all the weird stuff that goes with that. I don't know why the comments aren't coming into my StreamYard thing. So let me just hit a couple. Clay Davis checking in. What's up, Clay? Sean Day said group interview presentation. That was when I was talking about group interviews. He said, love it. Sell the company, the culture, the leadership. Then they're willing to wait if necessary. My father-in-law came in. Marty Henschel says, where are the fish? Totally different priorities. He just wants to know where they're biting. Which is kind of recruiting. Just recruiting for the freezer. Denise said, wish I loved numbers enough to work with you. I assume she's talking about bookkeeping stuff, bookkeeping numbers. Darlene says, you need comments. So here's one to help. Darlene, actually, just because I like to give her a hard time because her name is spelled Darlin. Call it Darlin just for the sake of it. She said, less BS is good. Less BS isn't always good. BS can be a lot of fun. Chris and I are BSing right now. BS is great if it's the right type of BS. Depends. I forget which comedian it is, but he's like a foreigner who has a huge bit on the word shit and bullshit and dog shit and good shit and just like shit. He's like, I don't understand shit. Like, and he went through like 90 different uses of the, like, if it's this, then it's ape shit. If it's this, then it's horse shit. Like, what, like how many times can we use the word shit? Like, what does it all mean? So
Depends on what type of shit.
You know, bullshit can be two different things. It can be that's bullshit, or it can be like, well, we're bullshitting.
I mean, I think it boils down to, man, you got it right. Like you got to, it's the how attractive of an offer can you make? How attractive a position, a company, a brand, those things. Like if you focus on those, you'll have people waiting in line. I mean, that's it. I mean, and one thing too, you know, I think it's I'd be curious, like, to go through this with Sean as well, because you look at the remote components of that, where the candidate pool opens up drastically. You know, so I mean, imagine like we picked up a client in California, and they're like, it was just a referral. We do a lot in insurance as well. They were like, hey, we're looking at like a Midwestern remote position. We're like, fucking gold mine. All right,
yeah,
cool.
as long as it's not in California, sounds good.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, wait, they don't have to report in California. They don't have to like, no, man. I mean, we had like, I mean, we are like literally job opening, sign deal, whatever, 72 hours, we're at offer stage.
Yeah.
You know, rock star out of Sioux City. So like, that's just, those pieces of it are always going to be a huge attraction thing. I would love to hear Sean's thoughts on the actual like the trades, skilled labor, you know, like how business owners would be able to accomplish that, how they'd be able to build a bench, those things in a very reactive, high turnover type scenario, where it is like, you know, the jobs are harder, they're less attractive, they have to be on site, the candidate pool is diminished, you know, like I would be curious to hear about that, because I know that's a huge challenge.
We found this is anecdotal because I'm not in the day-to-day as much for the home service businesses that we do have. The propensity for that hopper list to work is still really high. Not that they're not going to go get a job tomorrow somewhere else if we can't hire them today, but if we reach out to them, and again, if part of the reason I like doing the group interviews is because it flips the script and makes them feel like they're the one in control. Like, hey, I'm going to teach you about us, and I want you to ask me questions. Like, you interview me. You got to make sure you want to come work here. And it's memorable. Cool. It's memorable, and they applied to 30 different jobs in 5 minutes on Indeed. And so how do you stick out? Like you said earlier, it's just marketing and sales. You got to be different. You got to stick out. You got to wow them. So you might not have a job for them today, or you might have hired somebody else. But if they were on your list of thumbs up people and you reach out to them later and you had a memorable thing, when you reach out to them, they're not going to be like, who is this? Because you get that. You get that in the trades all the time, where like you can call somebody that applied to your job and they're like, who is this? What job? They don't remember clicking on your job. They clicked on like 50 applicants in 2 seconds. And so if you can make yourself memorable when you reach out to them, again, they're just as likely to be like, you know what? I am still interested. That sounded like a lot of fun. I ended up taking this other bullshit job, and we're going to have this warehouse. They told me these things, and then this is actually what I'm getting, and I'm working different hours, and I'm getting paid less, and blah, blah, blah. And so like, it still ends up working out. It's not everybody's going to come work for you, but that's why you do it with a bunch of people, and you don't do it with just 2 people. You do it with 10 or 20 or however many you need to do it with.
Nice.
But
I like that. I mean, I was kind of honestly like, I was, until you guys dug further into it, and I'm glad I was kind of, just be honest with you, I was like, what? It's like, all right, tell me like how that shit works. Because my mind automatically went to like, okay, you show up in a boardroom, maybe because this just happened to me when I lived in Vegas or whatever. And I was like, fuck that, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Like 100%. But they didn't, I sat through 5 minutes of it, and it was like, it was nothing like that. There was no experience. There was like, you know, they didn't create something unique and positive and awesome, you know, and a lot of it is how you package that and the brand you have and how you market it. So like, now that you've dug further into that, and like I was following some of the other shows and whatnot, it makes total sense. Because even it's like that person's like, oh shit, you know, now you're sought after, and it's something that they want. They're like, I'll just go back to this job that sucks, but you know, hey, hopefully like 2 months down the road, I chose them. It's just now I'm just a matter of waiting.
Yeah,
I think that's really cool. I think that's awesome, man.
Yeah, it flips it. And it's funny. It's like, in a way, it gives them the decision, right? Which is like, I want people that can make decisions. You make the decision. You already got here. You decide if you like me. I'll ultimately decide if you work here or not, but you got to decide if you're going to opt in. And it gives them accountability. One of my biggest annoyances over the years was when we'd hire people and they'd be like, this isn't fair. And I'd be like, the fuck are you talking about? You signed up for this job. You know, like in window cleaning, we'd have employees that would complain about their routes. It's like, oh, you want me to go quick grab their house and move it closer to the shop? You want me to just run over and like move that? You just want me to move that house over here? There's like, what? Just like, you're gonna teleport and you just want me to like stash some ladders at all of our customers' houses that you can use there? Like, how would you suggest we get these jobs done? You signed up to work in a window cleaning job and we do residential houses. That means some days you're going to have a great route and some days you're going to have a not so great route. And yes, we're going to try to balance that out. And so like, that's the job you signed up for. So I don't know what you want. Do you like, what's the solution? I don't know how we go clean those windows without going out to clean those windows. And if you don't want to go out to clean those windows, go get a different job. Like, you don't need to work
and
here.
all those things change when it's so, and it's like when you learn that and that you found the people that actually do want to be there, those are, it's less excuses, it's less negativity, it's less like poison, you know, whatever. I'm sure that like that the culture change was there when you found the actual right people.
Oh yeah. One of the other super fun things I like about recruiting, and sales works the same way. But the more times you get it wrong, the more stories you get. And stories sell. So when I do a group interview, I just tell stories the whole time, because then you're watching people's nonverbals, and the people that like your story are like, yep, I've worked with one of those assholes before. And they're and you can tell who likes your story, and you can also tell when they want to tell you a story back. Like, that's when they're engaged. And when somebody likes what you have, they want to do this. They want to go back and forth. And it's the biggest, like, you could sit in an interview room and ask them all the questions in the world that you want. But if they're giving you the nonverbals, they can't help themselves. And if they're not giving you the nonverbals, they can't help themselves. You figure out who wants to come work for you and who's interested and who isn't, way better than them answering your interview questions. I've had tons of luck with that. Darlene says, I've had lots of good stuff with using your words, Dan, using the word recruiting. It's been a game changer. One of the things, Chris, and this is another Seanism, is recruiting and hiring are two different things. We got to keep them separate. Then they don't have to be at the same time. And that's where I was like, we got to build a bigger list. We got to recruit. We always say ABC, always be recruiting. Got to do your ABCs. But that doesn't mean you need to always be hiring. You hire seasonally with the demand, but it doesn't mean you should stop recruiting just because you don't need to hire. You should always be recruiting.
Absolutely.
Darlene says, it is what it is. That says it all. Chris, let me hit you with this before we wrap things up. Economics wise, and we're in a election year, and so things are weird anyway. And so I can't quite tell like how much of the recession is just a recession versus how much is like people waiting for this election to get over. And I don't even know, regardless of what candidate wins, I don't even know if it'll really matter. I think people just want the certainty of knowing what the hell we're going to get, because they're so different. It's like so different.
So different.
But at least we'll all be able to get on with our damn lives and stop watching political ads. Holy smoke. Yeah. The only thing worse than a bad employee is watching political ads. That's about as bad as it gets. Are you guys, and what you're seeing, are you preparing for like a continued slowdown, or is it just hey, we just need to like make it through this storm here of complacency or inaction due to the election, and come 2025 we'll be back going full speed? What's your
I mean, and definitely for the focus that we're in, I mean, you know, we're a lot of times we're high level, unique type positions and like skilled professional type people that like they're freaked out right now. It's been a really weird year. You know, we're in an election year. There's like the whole, I mean, let's see, like the job market report just came out, and 818,000 jobs. They miscalculated it by that amount. And literally.
I wish I could be that wrong. I want to be wrong by hundreds of thousands of anything.
Yeah, I mean, and like you have that now. The feds, they're freaking out, and they're just like, "Oh shit, okay." So like, there's just a lot of weird stuff going on right now, and plus, just from my experience too, election years are really strange. People are kind of holding out to be like, "Ah, fuck, man." Like, I mean, is it a good time for me to switch this job? Like, how safe like is this employer that I'm going to? I might not like my job, but I also like I like feeding my family,
Yeah, but
and
yeah.
yeah, you are seeing weird things like that. But also, I will tell you this: I have never seen more counter offers, higher ones. Like one guy got a $35,000. He got a 40% counter offer, and then stayed. And usually, it's like counter offers, like the data on it's like 60% are gone within like a year.
Yeah.
It's like, you show now you're not loyal. They treat you like shit. You stayed for the money. You like, whatever. It didn't solve your problem. This and that.
Yeah.
I've never seen more counter offers accepted because they like the amount that they're throwing out, and like these companies are desperate to hold on to people because they don't know how to recruit. They're in a bad thing. Like they're the asset of that person is so strong right now, and you're not seeing, like, candidates are not moving and being open to opportunities, open to work, and just that flow is down a lot. It takes a lot more to disrupt somebody and to attract them into a job than it has in the past.
Oh yeah,
is what we're seeing.
Yeah. Well, I think all those people need to have a hopper so they don't have to like dumpster. It's not dumpster hiring; it's dumpster keeping. Where you're like, I can't afford to lose this person because I don't have any way to replace them. And that's just another thing. Like, as a business owner, what a shitty feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. I will tell you this, Dan, like that. No employers, like business owners, they don't think like that. I'm not sure if I've actually. Well, maybe it's because I haven't talked to them, because otherwise they wouldn't be using us. But like, that's not a common trait. That's not a mentality that a lot of companies are actively like. That's not a common thing that you're seeing as much. Yeah. It's everything is reactive. That person, and we've learned that a long time ago, mostly just dealing with clients, whatever. Like, you never know when that person's going to be there. You can they could smile and be the greatest and whatever it is. They might get hit by a bus tomorrow, or they might just secretly hate you, whatever it is, or they get an offer that they can't refuse. They might get sick, whatever it may be. To not have a plan and to be so, to be stuck on that person and not have a backup plan, not like constantly building the brand, not have people waiting at that. It's always a reactive piece. And then they come to we're third on the list. So it's like referrals. Oh shit. Who do you guys know? Job boards. Oh God, this blows. Loophire.
Yeah. That is funny that you say that. That's exactly how it goes. It's who do we know? And as you said earlier, at some point you go, oh shit, everybody I know is a friggin' jackass.
Yeah.
Like,
right?
Oh damn it. Like, I forgot. Yeah, I know a lot of people. I wouldn't hire them. Oh damn.
Yeah.
Like, that's gonna be really awkward when that one doesn't work out. Okay, let me check this job board. Oh, this is just a steaming pile of shit. Do I have the automations built to handle there's 1 out of 100 maybe that are in here that I could hire?
Right.
Can I find them? Do I trust that I could find them? Do I have a way to figure out who they are? Or am I going to hire some help? And that tends to be it. And the funny thing is, I've seen through Hire Lead Chill and working with Sean, as the labor market eased off, I think people immediately were less likely to hire a recruiting company because they're like, oh, now I can do it myself.
Correct.
But then, and we're starting to see more of this, then they went, oh shit, I don't know how to go through 100 applicants, but I do know that these 30 that I was able to bring in, or these 50, most of them sucked, and I can't just interview them. That'd be and that's a ton of no-shows. Part of the reason I do group interviews is because it solves the no-show issue. Who cares if 5 out of 15 people no-show? Because you still got 10 there. That's why you do a group interview. You're not wasting your time. So I think part of it is that too, is like you're building a system that can efficiently get through all the C players that Sean talked about earlier. Is like the labor market eases off, the A and the B players, to your point, are staying put. They're like, hey, I got something. I'm here. I'm just going to ride it out for a little bit, see what's going on. Maybe they'll be the passive people that are checking stuff out. But if they're out on a job board, the first ones out there are the C players. Not to say there's not an A or B player mixed in, but you got to have a process to find those A and B players. They're somewhere in there, but you got to, it's like catching bluegills. You got to throw a whole bunch back sometimes before you get a keeper.
Amen.
And you got to be ready to throw a whole bunch back instead of hiring the first like decent one. And I think that restraint is part of the hard part.
Amen. Nah,
what do we miss? What do we miss, Chris?
I don't know. We covered a lot, you know. I'm just happy. Like, I dig what you guys are doing with that, and because I was skeptical at first, and it makes sense. I'm glad that we dug further into that. It does make sense. And there's a lot of things like any business owner, you know, hiring manager that they can learn from this is like always be recruiting and building your brand and building that, you know, that backlog of people that you can make an impact on that will remember you when you call.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh man, yeah, you know what? I really enjoyed that. And like, shit, I don't care when this is, unless I found another dream job that had such a unique interview experience or an awesome brand, which is rare, that like they're gonna 100% remember you.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And just back to what you said earlier, it's no different than marketing, which is when your demand is full and your plate's full, you don't take your website down. Right.
Right.
You don't phone rings, you don't not answer it. I mean, actually, I've seen people not do that, and that's like, just what? Like, you don't know who's calling. If it's client, whether it's current or a potential new, like you might not be spending as much on ads, but the doors are still open. You're still building. And
well, think about that too. Like, the customer that you're like, hey, the real shit, not the sales pitch. That's bullshit. That's like, I don't have time to work with you because we're that busy. I'll let you know when we can. Yeah. That customer, it's like, damn, I really want to work with this person.
Oh yeah.
They must be that successful. Holy shit, they're at capacity. And all the brand's good. The reviews are great. I can't wait. Win our chance. It's like there's something that you want that you can't have.
Like the Nintendo Wii. Back when I was in college and Nintendo Wii was coming out, I remember like calling all the stores trying to track one down just so I could box my friends without actually having to punch them in the face.
Amen.
Right.
Exactly.
I mean, there were sometimes I wanted to punch them in the face, but most of the time I just kind of wanted to punch them in the face without punching them in the face. So
virtually or yeah.
Digitally punch them in the face.
Yeah. Nice.
Well, Chris, I appreciate you coming on. I got one more question for you, and I don't remember if I asked this question the last time you were on, but I'm going to ask it this time, and we'd have to go back and listen to the last episode to know if I asked you this and to even remember what your answer was. Any last closing comments before we shut this baby down and I give you the last ringer question?
No. Mm-mm. I always enjoy it, man.
It's good to catch up. It's good to catch up. Hell yeah. So here's the deal. Here's the premise. Most of the time I bet I remember to ask this question half the time. It's probably a 50%er. But here's the closing question for you. Let's say the recruiting market wasn't even a thing. It didn't even exist. You can do anything you want out there. It's just got to be a thing that like makes you enough money to like pay your bills, feed your family. World's your oyster. You just can't do what you're doing today. And that starts right now. What would you go do tomorrow?
Jerry Maguire, sports agent. Done.
Oh, badass. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Who kind of like how I got into recruiting with that, man. It was like the whole like the wheeling and dealing with the clients back and forth, like the brokering deals and the like, I still enjoy doing that stuff now at like a smaller scale or whatever. But like I loved like the making a deal happen and negotiating and advising and those things, mostly when you do it on both sides. And I don't know, like I remember this when I was younger. I was like, I saw Jerry Maguire and I was like, being a sports agent would be so fucking awesome. And really, like as a client, like advisor, kind of like
no, you're just a business agent. You're a business agent.
That's what you do. It's like I got like a really unique one right now with like an architect, and we're just like, he's got a bunch of kids, and we're trying to figure out that and like broker that deal and figure it like what money he needs, the comp package and all this like like the the deal that you structure and making both parties happy and getting it done, it's like I would be a sports agent for sure.
Who, if you're a sports agent, who's your first call tomorrow to sign on as a client?
I mean, I gotta go like Mahomes or Kelsey, you know what I mean? Something like that.
I like it. Pat
Yeah.
Mahomes drafted. He was my first.
Mhm.
I was pick number 4 in my fantasy league tonight. I got my Patty boy. It's a
No shit.
It's a 2 QB league, and so you kind of need. I got Pat Mahomes, and then I think it was the next round. I grabbed Jordan Love. Go Pat.
That boy. Things are looking up.
Guy's got 6 number 1 wideouts. He's gonna be throwing the ball all over the damn place.
Right?
Impossible.
Might be looking up for you, man. Might be your year.
We'll see. Probably not, just because everybody's gonna get injured. And I'm just gonna be stuck drinking Busch Lights and yelling at the TV. Which I'm really good.
You can join 8 leagues like my buddy, and leverage your bets.
I was gonna say, I don't even know what you would do. Like, how many TVs would you need to have, and which one would you yell at which point in time? It would just be chaos.
Yeah, I mean, there's the local bar that they like to go to has a whole shit ton of TVs, man.
How many kids does that guy have?
0.
That I was gonna say, he either has like 6 kids or he has 0. Like nowhere in between. Because if you just have like 2 or 3 kids, you're kind of the mind of like, yeah, I just can't be that like preoccupied. My wife would get pissed because I got so much stuff done. I think if you had 5, 6 kids, you'd be like, fuck it. Just like
chaos.
I need to have this distraction. If you have 0 kids, you're like, fuck it. Like, why not?
Yeah.
I don't have any kids. I can see that. I can see how it could. I mean, I still think 8's too many, but that makes more sense. It makes more sense.
Yeah, we don't have any kids, and I think 8's too many. So so that's what it is. To each their own.
I can tell you what, I don't know what's worse, 8 fantasy leagues or 8 kids. Either one's way too. I feel like 8 kids would be worse. Now that I say that out loud,
I took an elevator ride. So, all right, this amazing dude. And so he's worth so much money. Like he's a venture capital dude. Taking an elevator ride with him the other day, and he's got 8 kids. And I was like, seriously? He's like, yeah, like 2 of them got married this year, whatever. He's going through all this shit. And I was like, luckily he's got like $300 million. Like,
yeah, you better if you're gonna have 8 kids.
Literally, I just stared at him in awe, and I was like, how? Like, how does it even happen?
How many moms? How many moms for those 8 kids? You didn't get that
I didn't get into that. No, I mean, it's like this dude's like so sharp and brilliant, whatever. Like he's the guy who had 8 kids on purpose, and like his wife's amazing too. She can't not be. They just wanted 8 kids.
One for the Ocho. Going for the Ocho.
That's a lot. I'd probably rather have 8 fantasy leagues, but
I think I could do 8 fantasy leagues better than I can do 8 kids. 3 is I'm at the max. I'm cut up. 3 I'm 3 and done. 3 is good for me. That's
good number.
We forced ourselves into playing the zone defense instead of man to man, and like I can't handle anymore. I can't handle 2-on-1s. Once it turns into a 2-on-1, it's you're getting your ass kicked.
Amen. It's a good number, man.
Maybe. We'll see if I can keep him alive. That's the only goal. I'm trying to keep him alive.
Yeah, like, what's your goal? Keep my kids alive.
Yeah, that's about it. Like even the 2 older girls they don't start school till Wednesday next week, and so they're like, but their summer school ended. So now, and last week, Grandma and Grandpa watched them, but now they're just at home during the day, and like Marty and I are on calls all day, and so literally like the last 2 days, it was like, all right, feed yourselves lunch. They're 6 and 8, and just like who knows what's gonna happen. Both days,
I'll tell you what is. They're lucky. People here, like Nebraska blows, man. Like my nieces and nephews started a fucking month ago.
Yeah. What's up with that? Minnesota, Wisconsin still like post Labor Day startup. It's crazy. Everybody else is going earlier and earlier, and we're like, nah. Like we want our kids out in the woods, learning how to survive. That's where we want them. Yeah,
making their own lunches.
With like, and I was like, hey, there's lunch meat in the fridge. There's some cheese. There, you got bread over there. There's carrots. There's apples. Whatever. And both days I would get done at like 4 or 5 o'clock. I'd run down there and I'd be like, you guys, all the shit from lunch is still out. Like, you got to put, like, the stuff doesn't just last sitting out here forever. Go put that stuff in the fridge. And now tomorrow you got to suffer the consequences of leaving your lunch meat out and the cheese out. And you're just stuck with whatever grows on that stuff. And you're going to learn it the hard way. You just got to learn that the hard way. Figure that out. It'll make you stronger. If it doesn't kill you, it'll make you stronger.
Yeah. Amen, brother.
Living that life. All right, Chris. Darlene was already giving me a hard time. She's like, I'm laughing because you've been saying you're done for a few minutes. I love this. That was par for the course. But Chris, thanks for coming on the show again. Anytime you got something cool going on, anytime you're seeing something, you got open invite. Anytime we'll have you back.
Thanks,
love catching up with you.
Same, brother. Appreciate it.
Hell yeah. Business nerds, you guys know what to do. Work smarter and harder. Go earn yourself some pride. We'll see you for the bonus edition tomorrow. We got the folks on from the place that I can't talk about because everything changes tomorrow. We got our first sponsor. You're going to love them. I love them. It's going to be awesome. Check us out tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Central Time. Until then, peace.